Hi, Derek Rennie here. I'd like to run you through today something I call the nutrition impact triangles to give you a better idea of how to simply look at your diet, what you're eating on a day-to-day basis or meal-to-meal basis, and from there, figure out what's working and what's not. Because whatever we eat does have an impact on us, and the things I want you to pay attention to is whether it drives your hunger and your energy. So does it make your hunger go up or down? And does it make your energy go up or down? Basically, if you increase your hunger and decrease your energy, your waist size is going to go up. Whereas if you decrease your hunger and increase your energy, your waist is going to go down. So long-term management of your weight and your waist. So you've probably heard a lot these days about the whole idea of carbohydrate restriction, about fats being all of a sudden good for you. You can see a lot more of that on my website, evolvingfoodpyramids.com. That will take you to a page on my actual, my normal website, derekrennie.com, and it'll take you right to that page where I've got that information there. But the simplicity of it is that carbohydrates generally will drive your hunger. So if you're eating a high carbohydrate diet, you'll tend to be hungry every 2 to 3 hours or less. Whereas if you're eating a high fat diet, you'll tend to be getting hungry every 3 to 4 hours or more. So that's what we basically want to do, is switch our carbohydrates and our fats. So instead of having a high carbohydrate diet, which basically how carbohydrate works is that stimulates insulin production. Insulin production locks away all that excess glucose into the fat stores, and it locks them down so you can't access the fat stores. And the fat stores, like in your muscles and everywhere, are the fundamental, prime source of energy in your body. And if you're not getting access to those because the amount of carbohydrates you're eating and the insulin effect from there is keeping your fat stores locked down, then you're going to run out of energy every few hours, and you'll need to top it up with sugar. And that's why they say glucose is the main source of energy. It's just being misperceived that way. The main source of energy is the fats. And so basically when you shift to more of a high-fat diet, when you look at the amount of carbohydrates you might be eating and think, God, I have to eat that much fat, it's a lot of fat. It's not actually that much fat you have to eat, because your actual total calorie count will come down. And one of the reasons for that is that, there's two reasons really. One is that fats has like 9 calories per gram, carbohydrates and proteins have 4 calories per gram. So you get a lot more calories in each gram of fat, but at the same time when you're actually able to burn your fat and use the fat for energy, which you may have to cut your carbohydrates down for a while, maybe even a week or so to get to that point, and you might go through a period of, it's almost like it's a transition phase where you might feel headachy or tired, and then once you get through to that point, then you kick in and your body can actually drive that mechanism of using fat for energy rather than carbohydrates. So don't necessarily expect it to turn up overnight, but then again you might find it does. And I would recommend you do that, is that, try breakfast with 2 to 3 eggs with maybe some salmon, depending on how big you are. I'm small, I have 2 eggs and a little bit of tinned wild Alaskan salmon or bacon, and then I have fry that up, and I do an omelette. I fry up some things like onion, broccoli, mushroom, fry that up in some coconut oil, and then add in the omelette mixture to that, and then I'm done and dusted. And if I have something like, you can also do a thing called like a fat black. I have mine with Karo. Karo is like a coffee substitute, 0 caffeine coffee substitute, and just put in like a dessert to a tablespoon of butter and a dessert to a tablespoon of coconut oil. Blend it up in a blender, otherwise it doesn't mix well. And that's usually enough to see me through 3 to 4 hours or more. So and often what you do when you make this transition properly, you might find you actually just eat twice a day. So because your hunger just isn't there. But that can take time to get to. So hopefully that's good. You got that clear. So just to recap, that actually before I recap, one more thing is, if you have made that transition to burning fat and you're keeping your carbohydrates low enough to do that, that will depend on how metabolically damaged your body is. Some people need to get that right down to 20 grams of carbohydrate, and again go to evolvingfoodpyramids.com to get more of an idea on that. Whereas some athletes might be able to go to 70 to 200 grams of carbohydrate a day to actually and still be burning fat as fuel. But if you've made that transition into that point and then you find your energy starts dropping out of the floor, have a look at your salt intake. This was a big one for me, is that we've often been taught to have low salt, but when you cut the carbohydrates out, you'll actually drop a lot of fluid, and that's where a bit of the weight goes at the beginning. And then what happens is you'll need to look at salt intake. So if you've already made that transition into burning fats and you feel comfortable with that, and your energy drops, take a look at salt. And just a teaspoon a day throughout the day is all you need. And so just to recap, so your nutrition does have an impact on particularly your hunger and your energy levels. And the idea is to explore reducing the carbohydrates, which will do them the wrong way, and increasing the fats. Basically taking the carbohydrates out, replacing it with fat. And then most of us get adequate protein, but and that's another story really there, because protein will drive insulin, not as much as carbohydrates, so too much protein can be a problem. If you've got your fats way up and your carbohydrates way down and you're still having a problem with waste management, then you might be eating too much protein. So just one more thing I wanted to do to help this stick in your mind is we all know what NITs are, and if you don't get this right, NITs will drive you crazy. Whereas if you get a bit of knowledge inside you, this knowledge here, and you apply it to work, then you can actually knit a new life for yourself. You can knit. You get your one. It's knitting. If you knit anything, it's one stitch at a time. With this kind of knitting, it's one meal at a time. And using the high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet, so that you reduce your hunger, increase your energy levels, and then long-term, your waste management is actually really good. All right. Take care. Let me know how it goes with that. I'd love to hear it. Bye for now.